And thank you so much for joining this very special event, this very special launch with Innovative Pet Lab's new comprehensive cat test. We're so excited and honored to be able to host this event with you guys and for you guys. And of course, joining us today is the co-founder and brains behind Innovative Pet Lab, Dr. Betsy Redmond, as well as our favorite veterinarian and big gut health expert, as well as all about advocate for Test Don't Guess, Dr. Katie Woodley, the natural pet doctor. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much for being a super huge thing for our cats, you guys. I know everyone joining is really wants to dive right into how amazing this is, because that test don't guess, right? Like, that's so important. And for those of us that are looking at making sure that our cats live their absolute best life, and we just saw this recently last year with the clinical trial, how much testing really matters. This test is brand new just for our kitties. Dr. Redmond, can you share with everybody a little bit about why this is going to just change so many lives?
Yeah, we're very excited. Like, we started and we had dog tests, and I don't know if you've, like, we have this comprehensive test for dogs, and everyone's like, well, what about for cats? And we just were like, oh, right. Just there was more demand there. But once we got going, it's like cats need all the same things. So it took us a little while to pull everything together. So you have to collect all the data and make sure you can get the reference ranges. So now we have a cat comprehensive. So you can look at 4 markers all at once, and then you can retest like 2 markers at a time. So you don't have to retest everything. You can just retest where there's issue. So the test has Calprotectin, which is going to identify gut inflammation. So it just, if there's inflammation in the gut, and it could be something more serious, but a lot of times it's something you can have by changing diet or adding supplements. It's going to look at Secretory IgA, which is the first line of defense at the gut lining. So it kind of gives you an idea of what's going on in the gut and how the immune system is reacting. If Secretory IgA is really high, then it can identify the food interactions, food sensitivities, parasites, pathogens, or other immune reactions. If it's really low, maybe they've been fighting something for a long time. So those are kind of, I always think of together. Then we look at Zonulin. So that can identify intestinal permeability or leaky gut. So if you've ever seen it, I always do that.
Again, do it again.
Yeah. So it's active. It's, the gut's not impermeable, but it's, it's very organized. All the shakies, organized. But if there's leaky gut and zonulin's elevated, zonulin comes along and pulls these things apart. And then it's like, they're not, some of them are bound together. But so what's coming through is kind of, more like that. It's not working as well. So, and it can cause immune reactions. And then we look at anti-gliadin antibodies to see, are they having a reaction to gluten? So those are the 4 markers, and you can get them all together in one test.
I love that. So just one poop sample.
One poop sample is all we need.
Can you tell us a little bit about why it was so hard to get it all put together versus like the dog comprehensive?
Yeah. So we started with dogs, and then, that was just our, we didn't realize there's just not as much research on cats. And so then, we had some on cats, and then we wanted to get more tests. So we started testing cats. So cat poop was a little harder to collect. It took a little time we had to do a lot of testing to make sure that the cat litter doesn't interfere with the test, which it doesn't. So we just need to get to the core of the poop. So some litter on the outside doesn't bother it. We had to do the same stability test. So that kind of stuff takes a while. And so there are 2 markers that don't really work in cats that we do in dogs. So the beta-glucuronidase and the pancreatic elastase just aren't really good markers in cats. And so there's not a lot of research. So we did that. We tested them a lot to are you sure? Can we see? And it just, it's not really working out in cats. So those kind of things stopped it. And then the logistics of putting it together. So the IT package build, that always takes us longer than we think. 'Cause-
Yeah, of course.
We're so grateful for the effort. And I
Yeah,
think
there's so little out there when it comes to cats in the health world, right? Cat specific in the health world, they kind of lose the voice. So we're so grateful that you guys are coming out with this like now.
Well, we're grateful that you guys can get the word out, because I think a lot of cat parents just assume, well, just that's all for dogs. They have that for dogs. And really, there's out there for cats.
not anymore.
Yep.
And I think something that we hear so often is so many of us cat parents are dealing with cyclical issues with our kitties. And so often, and we love conventional medicine, but a lot of times that just ends up treating symptoms. So I'm going to kind of lob this question out there for both of you. But I think, something like this, the real value of it, I see as being able to get to the kind of the root cause. We saw that with the clinical trial of cats that were really, going in for steroids or going in for things to try to help minimize symptoms, diarrhea or vomiting, that sort of thing, and not really knowing what was going on inside the gut and being able to.
Well, and then we also had those that didn't really have any symptoms and tested and saw that their cat did indeed have a leaky gut type issue. So that, testing is so important.
Test, don't guess. So I guess, what is the question? This test, I know a lot of people, we're all on a budget. It's like, oh, I don't know if I need that, right? But like as Jay just said, sometimes it's very proactive to see what those levels are doing. Who is this really made for? As far as, when someone comes to you and says, well, my cat is dealing with A, B, or C, what are those little A, B, or C markers that you're like, ooh, we could really get to the bottom of this with it?
I'm going to let Katie start with that one. Somebody walks in. I mean, we say everybody.
Like jumping at the bit over here. I'm like, is it my turn? So I love this, because this is where, even if we don't see the symptoms, things can be occurring internally. It's just that we haven't reached a point where the symptoms then develop. And so, yes, we can use it, as you were saying, Adrienne, like for a proactive wellness test. We all want to be as proactive as possible to prevent disease. So if we find a marker is elevated, then we can ask, why is that? Is it related to food? Is there a parasite? Is there a toxin that's increasing inflammation in that gut lining, and I need to support detoxification? Am I using flea and tick products? And all of a sudden we see inflammation increase, right? That's showing up on these markers. So that test is really helpful. So if you're sitting there and you're like, my cat's completely normal, maybe they vomit every now and then, still a good idea if you can. Now, if you have a cat that's experiencing gut health issues, so these are going to be symptoms like vomiting, constipation, diarrhea, sensitivities. So you give something to your cat and they just don't tolerate it, or you can't transition the food and they get loose stool, they get gassy, itchiness, your hypersensitivities, your ear infections, allergies, asthma, they're all connected, kidney disease, bladder infections, any symptom. Here's the thing, because the gut's so involved and connected with every other symptom or every other system, if you are seeing symptoms or you have a health condition with your cat, it is really powerful to understand what's going on at the gut health level. Because here's the thing, and I see this all the time with the pet parents that come to me and that I work with, we're trying all these different supplements and we're spending so much money guessing and hoping that it's going to work. So what I love about these tests, because I've been working with in the pet lab for a very long time now, which I absolutely love, and using these tests with both cats and dogs, is that we can actually see why we're using something. We can better understand why we're choosing a supplement, why it's important to put them on a more minimally processed diet. And the other thing too that Dr. Redmond was talking about is also, when you use those supplements, it doesn't mean you have to keep them on your cat on them for the rest of their life. We can retest. So say we get rid of the symptoms. Okay, let's retest and see what happened. Because then what we can do is you can come off a lot of those supplements that you were using, use food as the medicine, and then proactively use this test to make sure that something isn't creeping up, that we're not seeing that calprotectin, that inflammation in the gut lining increasing, or that secretory IgA, if it drops, like, whoa, our cat might have an immune system issue where we need to support with medicinal mushrooms, with colostrum. There's so many neat ways that we can do that. So I love this test because I love the test, not guess. It makes my job so much easier. That's why I'm like excited. So, there's so many great ways to use it, but for cat parents, like, it's hard, and giving supplements is not always easy to cats. So I know for my 3 cats, when I want to use supplements, I want to make sure they need it. And if I don't have to give it long term and put them off their food or have a battle and a struggle and create more stress, potentially with some cats, because that's what can occur, right? Am I the only one that goes through that, by the way?
No, I think you're the only one.
I'm alone. Yeah. That's okay. But
you're the only one making your cat mad.
Yeah. Kiwi doesn't like when I have to give her supplements in her mouth because she won't eat the food. So it's really helpful to know what to give and how to support them in the right way. And then that it's also working, right? I mean, it's not fun to like just spend money on supplements and be like, is it working? Is it not? Like, and
right. You can see these values go down. So even if it's like in the borderline range for calprotectin, it could be in high borderline and go down to lower borderline. So it might still say borderline, but there's an actual value and you can see that it's going down.
Yep.
So I think that helps. Plus these markers all work together. If you have a gluten reaction that you don't know about, that could lead to intestinal permeability or leaky gut. That can eventually lead to inflammation and an immune reaction. So it can tell you that, is it just one of these markers or all 4 of these markers starting to show things? Right. So then, you can move down. And if only 2 of them are, then you can just retest like if it, those 2, since we have it in pairs.
I love this so much because, I feel like, first of all, you guys are using lots of very big words. They all have such a huge, all of those things mean so much to our cat's health. And what I love is, you talked a little bit, Dr. Redmond, about what it is to bring something like this to market, to the individual cat parent, which I think is really empowering, that we have, if we're banging our head against the wall, dealing with something already, that we have this, that we can do. We don't need to ask our vet to please run all of these tests or whatever it may be, that we are empowered to be able to just do this test and see what might be going on. Completely lost what I was going to say.
And were you reading the comments? Because that's what happens. I tell her, I'm like, I can't tell the comments because you will just.
I'm watching the little cat.
Here's what I remember. It's just like a squirrel.
I remember. So you were mentioning just what it is to bring something like this to market, and something that I'm really grateful for that you guys do so well is your dashboard, right? When we get these results with all these words that we can't pronounce, you guys really do such a great job of kind of explaining why this is important, what this means, how this might manifest,
giving options as to what can be done for specific things. And yes, Gigi, in the comments, this is an at-home test, so it is something that you can do on your own. You don't have to have your vet involved, although if you do have an awesome vet that would get involved, that would be even better.
With your veterinarian.
Definitely share it with your veterinarian.
It's you get the sample at home and then you send it to the big brains to do the test.
And if your pet has some symptoms and you found out some of these markers were super high, that may also nudge you to go see your vet. Maybe I'm going to take this more seriously.
Right. Yes,
so
absolutely.
True.
Absolutely. We had one like that in the clinical trial.
Clinical trial.
Yep.
Dr. Katie, I see you chomping at the bit.
So as a veterinarian, obviously I like the holistic side and the integration. This is also too, we're saying, you can do this test, which makes it easier, because I know sometimes it can be harder if we are partnered with a veterinarian that's not aware of the power of an integrative approach. So regardless, share the results with your veterinarian, because it's really helpful for them to see it. You're planting a seed. And then also too, when your cat heals, because they can heal when you treat the right thing, this is where it's really helpful for those veterinarians, my veterinary colleagues, to see that there's different ways that we can approach health. And what I found too, and I believe Dr. Redmond will attest to this also with talking to a lot of veterinarians on the conventional side, on the holistic side, and between the integrative side, is that this test isn't as scary as, say, some of the other tests that are out, like other functional medicine tests that are out there, because there is a lot of research that's backing this up to show, this is a physiological functional medicine test showing how the body works, how the gut works, how's that local immune system. So once a veterinarian becomes exposed to this, a lot of times they want to learn more because it's speaking their language. And it's just, we have not been exposed to this type of like testing before. It's much more common in the functional medicine human realm, which is where they came from, which I love. So there's a lot of knowledge and background and the research there to back this up, which that's what a lot of conventional vets are afraid of when we go into that holistic realm or the natural realm, is that we're just not trained in that area. So use this as a bridge to show your vet, like, hey, I'd love to have this conversation or just show you what I'm doing. It's super fascinating. I want to keep you in the loop with what we're doing. I know Innovative Pet Lab, Dr. Redman, all of the amazing ladies with Innovative Pet Lab are super open to talking to veterinarians too and guiding them through that. So make that introduction, because this is how we spread it. This is how we open up like cat health and pet health to a more integrative approach, so we can better understand what's going on at a root cause level. So that's really important. So even if your vet's not fully like on board with it, still share it with them. Whatever they do with it is out of your control, but we can do that part where we're sharing it, we're planting the seed, which is really important.
Yeah, I 1,000% agree. I think that's brilliant. Yeah.
Well,
we have a vet guide, so that has references, that has links to real articles from real studies. So we didn't just make it up. I mean, we specifically got these markers because we thought they were good.
Really? You didn't make it up?
Yeah, we called my neighbor.
Just put some numbers and some reference ranges, but felt good, right? Like
we just throw darts. Well, and I think that is a good point, though, as far as like what we do. We came from the human world, and it is very regulated. So there's CLIA certification. You can't just start a lab and give lab results.
Right.
And you've got to have certain certifications and the way you do run tests. So we do those same things in the pet world, but it's not necessarily required. There's not CLIA certification in the pet world. So, you can just start a pet lab. My husband, who works in IT, could start a pet lab and nobody would shut him down.
Right.
So he's not, but I would say this is, when we were doing the question before, this is how you collect it. You just put it in a little tube, put it in there, put it in the bag.
Yeah.
And then put the bag in the box and mail it off.
And the box is it already comes with the stamp. So for those of you guys that are brand new to Innovative Pet Lab or our page, this is like, we went through this as well with our cats. Yeah. So it's, and we actually have a video of how we did it. So it's super simple as far as collecting the stool. I guess the only hard part is when you have multiple cats.
Well, you guys have the record so far. Yeah. I don't think anybody else has sent in 6 cat samples.
Wow. All right. Okay.
I'm an eagle eye on that.
Yeah. I'll let you know if somebody breaks your record.
Please do. I want to circle back first for a second. And I know everyone watching, you guys, we have some really exciting stuff to let you know. For everyone that knows that this would be amazing for your cat, stay tuned. We have some exciting news for you. But I want to circle back to, talking about this kind of bridge building with our conventional veterinarians. I really feel like this is something that makes it so exciting, even if we have a relationship where our conventional vet is, a little apprehensive about you coming in talking about, I'm using mushroom tinctures, or I'm using. I really find this so exciting because, Dr. Redman, as you said, this really is speaking their language. And Dr. Katie, I really feel like, as a veterinarian, so often I think one of the challenges our beautiful veterinarians have is dealing with pet parents that maybe only 15% of us bring our cats in for an annual exam and only come in when something is wrong, and they have no health history on them, and they're dealing with an upset pet parent. To have a pet parent come in just empowered with more information so that they can work together as a team, like, I really feel like this is just some golden bridge building that can be done between conventional medicine and integrative holistic health.
Yep.
So I really think it's not a matter of should you tell your vet about this? Please do, like, share this with them. I think it's so exciting. And, you know, as you said, Dr. Katie, when your pet starts to heal because you're treating what it is that has been discovered as the root, then that can really be eye-opening for their entire practice.
Yes. Yeah.
I was going to say too, one of the things that is a big battle for a lot of like cat parents and pet parents in general is when we transition to like a raw food diet, right? That's, you know, where we get a lot of resistance potentially from veterinarians, and then we shut down and we don't want to talk about it. This is where, as Dr. Redmond talked about with one of the tests, if we are feeding a kibble diet for our cats, and we saw this with the clinical trial, and also too, a lot of the studies that you've done with cats in
Shelters,
like rescue foster, like, you know, shelters, who were on, you know, the best quality food that they could do, right? There's never any shame if, you know, we're using those types of food. We're all doing the best that we can. But we also know that cats physiologically are what we call obligate carnivores. They don't have a requirement for carbohydrates. And unfortunately, kibble diets are high carb. And what we say is, you know, they're not species appropriate diets. And so what can happen is because of the type of food we're feeding, that can impact the gut health, that can potentially lead to things like that inflammation, the leaky gut condition. And also too, one of the first stages can be where we're producing those antibodies really that are going to create that inflammation. And so that's those anti-gliadin IgAs. That's part of this test. So what that means, if you're like, what does that mean, Dr. Katie? Right? You just said a lot of big words, right?
A lot of work.
Yeah. So let's break that down, right? This means that if you're feeding a kibble diet, maybe you're not seeing symptoms. Maybe you are like seeing some of those symptoms that I mentioned, where you're like, is it the diet? Doing this test can show you that, right? So if we're seeing a reaction to the gluten that's in the diet, and then we transition to a more minimally processed diet, and we repeat the test and we see an improvement, that's really powerful to share with your veterinarian, because there's a lot of fear around minimally processed diets, raw food diets. But this test is really powerful at helping us share like the power of feeding a minimally processed diet to our cats. So this is just one of the many things that we're talking about, that these tests are really helpful for showing us where something might be coming up, how the treatment, the transition to a different type of food or different supplements can make a huge difference. And you may not see it outwardly. That's the key thing too. Just because we don't see something outwardly doesn't mean things internally aren't changing.
Right.
That's
Yeah, I think that's
really important to remember.
That's a good point, because you don't just, and just like people, cats don't just one day like, I have diabetes. Whoa, I have gut disease.
Doom.
Yeah.
Like
Done. You got it. Yeah.
Try to kill itself.
Yeah.
Like,
So it's like you're going to not have symptoms. And then the first sign of symptoms for your cat may have been uncomfortable for a while, but even before they were uncomfortable, things were going wrong. So you could get a test that doesn't look great, but they don't have symptoms. So I consider that you're catching it early. Calprotectin itself they've done studies where they look at the level of calprotectin and then they go in and look at the intestines. So they know they correlate for fecal calprotectin.
Wow.
It's so true. And that's something that they saw, in the clinical trial, even someone that was in there that was no symptoms, no issues. But I believe it was the calprotectin that was
super high.
And the trial was able to bring it back down. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So actually, Dr. Katie, can you speak a little bit to that? So if we do have a cat that cannot, say it's a shelter cat, or say it's, one of the beautiful people in our community who rescue just tons of cats, and they can't afford to feed a better food, it is going to be, they can go the highest quality kibble that they can, but that's going to be it. But they're really worried because they have a cat with specific symptoms, and they get this test. Are there still other things that can be done to help a cat that is on a processed diet?
100%. So that's like the peace of mind I always have, is that we're all doing the best that we can with where we're at and the knowledge we have too. And so if you do have to feed, a kibble diet, this is where, how can we support the digestion and breaking down that food so it's absorbed better, right? Because there is vitamins and minerals in it, like they can survive on it, that's fine. But there's so many great functional tools that we have. So digestive enzymes, Jay and Adrian, your catalyst is a great option. I use that with my kitties, and they're on a raw food diet. And so this is where those digestive enzymes are going to help break down the proteins, fats, the carbs. They're going to put less pressure on the pancreas that tends to get stressed out when we feed those high carb kibble diets to our cats. So that will make a huge difference for them. So definitely look into, okay, what can I add to this diet to make it easier to break down and digest? The other thing too is this is where you can use, your nutraceuticals. So supplements essentially is the fancy, nutraceuticals are the fancy word. So if we're concerned with the gut health in general, and you do this test and you see inflammation, this is where, what else can we use to help calm down inflammation? So using products that are going to have things like slippery elm or marshmallow root are going to be very soothing to an inflamed GI tract. It's kind of like putting a Band-Aid on inflamed skin, right? We're going to protect it, allow it to heal and calm down. If we see that the immune system, so that secretory IgA, that's the things, they're going to grab the different toxins, bacteria, and help remove them and get them out of the body versus cause the immune system to overreact or create more inflammation. If that's struggling, so if that's low, this is where colostrum's great, or medicinal mushrooms. And there's a lot of great tinctures that, you guys recommend quite a few brands. There's a lot of great brands out there that make it easy to supplement your cats. So if you do have to feed a diet where you're like, gosh, I feel so guilty, because that's what comes up for so many people. And there's so much shame around that in the pet industry with nutrition on both ends of the spectrum, by the way. Don't worry. Just add in the things that are going to make it easier on your cat's body. And if you do this test, I would recommend doing this test, knowing that, wow, when I know better, I can support them better. And it doesn't mean 17 things. It means, 1 or 2 or 1 or 3, or, rotating based on what those test results show. And it just makes it easier, right? Because it can be really, really overwhelming for a lot of cat parents. Once again, the cost, if you're not transitioning, a lot of times there's a cost associated with why we're not doing that. So you don't have to get all the supplements. There's so many supplements out there. Just pick and choose the ones that you can do, knowing that they will help. And you're doing the best that you can, and applaud yourself for doing it. That's really, really important. We do not applaud ourselves for doing all the amazing things. Like everyone here taking time out of their evening to learn more, should applaud themselves. You are not a normal pet parent. You are an amazing pet parent, and being the best advocate that you can. And even if you can't do this test right now, it's an option for you. And so now we know that that's there. And so if something arises or something's going on, we know that we can do that test to make our lives easier, to help support our cats as best as we can.
Great answer. I love that. I love that.
I did have to mention, by the way, I think there's something that came up with, so there's a man named Rodney that had a question. I
saw that question. Yes, I would say no. He had a question. Yeah.
I had to bring this up. His cat recently started dating his neighbor cat. I don't feel he's the best choice for her. Should I interfere with my cat's life?
I thought that no.
Same.
They're going to see them anyway. You're just going to be the bad guy.
Yeah,
I agree. I think you should just let them date. Do not interfere. There will be extra stress. We know the stress can impact gut health. For everyone who doesn't know who we're talking about, Rodney Habib is the one who commented. He is well known for Inside Scoop. He is partners with Dr. Karen Becker. So don't worry, I haven't gone off my rocker. Maybe just a little.
No, I saw that too. It was like, oh, okay. No.
Yeah, I love you tying it together with gut health, though. I was like,
that's just stressful.
You're gonna break up the love life, but here's the reality of this too, right? And I do want to bring it back to, if we do have leaky gut, there is also the emotional side. So a lot of times we end up thinking about, what can I grab next? What can I reach for? We need a supplement supplement for that. And sometimes we actually need to take a step back and assess what's going on in the environment from an emotional health component. And this is where the power of, putting down dried herbs, herb gardens from Naturally Cats, Julianne Thorne is such a great, easy option. But also too, like assessing ourselves. Are there things that we can do that help support us so we can better manage the stress? Simple things like a gratitude journal, taking deep breaths, going for a walk. I can tell you 100% that it will make a huge difference to your cat and their gut health. Because when we're stressed, it can lead to leaky gut directly.
Yeah,
So
I can attest to that for sure. I actually just filmed the cat tip on it today.
Check yourself or you wreck yourself.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly right.
there's research where they look at Secretory IgA, Calprotectin, and cortisol together because they do play, the roles they influence each other. So, you think of cortisol, I personally think of circadian rhythms with that. Like, what's the sleep-wake cycle? I mean, cats don't want like a schedule that's just whatever. Like, they never know what's going to happen. It like this happens at this time. I know what's going to happen. So it just kind of keeps the stress down.
Yep, they definitely.
So true.
I think it was Ohio State University did a study years ago on cats and routine, and it actually showed that the cats that were taken off their regular routine, eating, playtime, all of that, were showing symptoms, even if they weren't necessarily, they didn't have your test to be able to test for what was going on. But they said they acted as if they were sick with just taking them off of routine.
It directly impacted their wellness.
Yep.
And to bring it back to the legendary Rodney Habib and the beautiful Dr. Karen Becker, who really, I love him taking a break from changing the world. He's always changing the world for our pets. Something that they said so long ago, and it's so true, is that supplements are great, right? But you have to know why you're supplementing. What are you supplementing for? And I think that, whether it's stress, whether it's food, whether it's a deficiency in some way, this test, this comprehensive gut check for our cats is so big to just as that first step of knowing, is it the food? Is there a deficiency somewhere? Is there some, all of that to get to know why. And then you're not throwing the kitchen sink at your poor babies. You're not trying like, ooh, omega digestive enzymes, or, you're not spending all that money. Think about it from, when you have multiple cats, you are always on the budget. This is the kind of test that really makes the efficiency of better health way more affordable because you are looking at the specifics. And
and then you can see it get better, which makes it. And we saw that in the cat study where we used your products, those cats got better. Those people, it made a difference.
Yeah, it was it's such a beautiful thing. Test, don't guess. And being able to even for us on our end of like, I know that this is going to help the gut and that's going to help the gut and this is going to help the gut, but I'm no scientist. I don't have a doctorate. I'm not a veterinarian. I don't know. I just, know from experience that these things help the gut. To be able to test and see how much it can actually help cats in these specific situations is wonderful. So you guys are
or a healthy cat. Like, I just want to make sure that cat's as healthy as I think that they are.
Yes.
And
specifically for cats. Oh, Dr. Katie, I'm
yes, specifically for cats because they're so stoic, right?
Yeah.
What to say?
In terms of kind of like them hiding like what's going on.
Yeah, for a health check.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I see this. It happened to me. It happened to me personally. I had 2 cats that developed aggressive GI lymphoma. They barely vomited before we found a big mass in their abdomen. Mm-hmm. If I had a test like this, I would have identified like, whoa, we've got probably, I'm sure their Calprotectin would have been through the roof, right? To be honest. But I didn't have a test like this years ago. And so I was doing the best that I could, with the knowledge and tools that I had. But I look at my like specific, even personal situation where it was like, one day you're fine, next day you're not. And you're like, how does that happen? Like, and I hear it all the time. And it's because we're on that spectrum of where we have optimal health here and we have like death down here, right? And we're constantly moving along this spectrum where something triggers us, we create a little inflammation, but you may not see like anything outwardly with your cat. And then we add a little bit of stress. We move a little bit closer to an actual like diagnosis of disease. And then we add another thing, and then another thing, another thing. And then all of a sudden now we can diagnose it, right? Now we have a diagnosis of inflammatory bowel disease, of cancer, of allergies, and we can pinpoint it. But as Dr. Redmond said towards the beginning, is that we are constantly moving along this spectrum. And this is the power of food as medicine and the power of using the supplements, the right supplements, where if we do get here, it doesn't mean you can't reverse it. The body, your cat's body is so powerful that when we give it the tools it needs to heal, we can reverse disease. And I see it every day where we give them the right things. We create a healing environment, a healing mindset. And those cats where you're told there's nothing else you can do, good luck, right? You just have to use conventional drug. I'm not against conventional drugs, by the way. There's a time and a place. But too many people are told there's nothing else you can do, when in reality now we have so many better tests like this to identify what went wrong or where things are off. And we have so many tools in our toolbox now from an integrated perspective to actually heal the body, to remove the resistance and allow your cat's amazing immune system and body and spirit and energy to actually heal it and bring it back to optimal health and reset it. So that's what excites me, is because it was towards the beginning, I saw a comment of, what if you have a genetic condition, right? Or very rarely will we have conditions where it's like, nope, there's nothing that we can do. There are certain conditions, especially more in the human realm, where that can happen, where they have a strong genetic predisposition to forming those diseases, right? But even, for example, like a big one for dogs, hip dysplasia, just because there's a strong predisposition or genetics, German Shepherds. I had a German Shepherd. We test for elbow dysplasia, hip dysplasia. There's genetic markers. It does not mean your pet will develop that condition. Right. Because we can change the way genes are expressed through nutrition, nutrigenomics, through environment. We call that epigenetics. And we can actually manipulate things. Like, this is how cool it is. And we have studies. I love it. Like, there's so many studies that show us the power of using certain foods and antioxidants and supporting detox to get those chemicals out. So I find it empowering that we have the tools, right? We're not stuck. And if you can't do all the things, it's okay. Doing one or two things make a huge difference for your cat.
Yes. And one of those things is get this cat comprehensive test.
Get it.
And we're making it easier for you, right, Meow? Because for everybody watching this can use the coupon code right here at the bottom, Cat Love, at checkout. To take 10% off of their kit. Plus, but wait, there's more. Plus, you get all kinds of awesome free goodies. Dr. Katie Woodley's giving you something free. There's the coupons for some of our favorite brands in the world, like Coco Therapy and Mind Pet Platter and Feline Essential.
Yeah, that's the first 100 get all those extra perks.
Yes, the first 100 will get all of these extra perks. So you guys, the link is in the description here. Click it, use it, get it right Meow while it's hot. And find out where your cat is, and then share it with us. We would love to learn more about your cat's specific issues. Dr. Katie's always here. We're always here. And of course, the Innovative Pet Lab, they will give you all of the information. I want to see that link on the vet thing too, by the way, because I haven't seen it, so I want to share that. But yeah, you guys can get your brand new test. Did it just launch today for sure, Dr.
Today's the day.
Okay, real quick, because I see a couple of questions. We'll get those in 1 second. Hi, Amanda. So, Dr. Katie, like you were saying, I think about your sweet babies with the GI lymphoma and just like what a shock that was, and how much of your journey has led you to be really this powerhouse for so many of us pet parents. And I'm so grateful for that. But like you said, you didn't have this test back then. and thinking about the change that it could have made then. And I want to say, no one had this test back then because IPL is the first one to make it for our
Correct.
babies, for our cats. Like, I just think this is such a,
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't in the market. It wasn't, any of it was in the market. So we just were like, hey, we want to do our own pets and we can't.
yeah.
So
Thank you.
And Lacey and Jamie, everyone at IPL, so grateful for this, every effort you guys make to help empower us, especially specifically cat people.
Yes.
well, you guys have really helped us like get into that world. You know, it's like, hey, this is a missing hole in the market.
Yes.
And
It's
Yes,
so needed.
it has been, yeah. And you know, we're the same thing. What the whole reason we started this is because there was that hole and we needed help for our own cats.
More.
Yeah. So we all get together. So it's such a beautiful symbiotic. Is that the right word?
Symbiotic relationship.
Thing. Yeah.
Yes. Is this test available in Canada?
Not yet, but we are getting there. We hope to be close.
Very soon. Very soon.
Oh, that
Okay.
is
Awesome.
wonderful.
Awesome.
And is there one more quick question? Is there a recommendation? You know, when we were talking about, the test results come back and we see that something is high. What is the recommended time frame between testing, in your opinions?
Well, partly, you know, and Katie can say what she's seen, but generally overall, we say like 3 months, like 3 to 6 months, kind of depends on how they're doing. If it's more serious, you may want to test sooner. We generally say 3 to 6 months or once a year.
Yeah,
Great.
I agree with that. You know, it'll depend on what's going on with your cat. You know, if you're healthy, doing it once a year, like great. If you can do it every 6 months, especially if you have an older kitty, that's a senior, you know, we want to test more frequently because they age faster. But it'll depend on your cat. If you're experiencing like symptoms and you heal them and then you want to retest also, like it's okay to retest sooner than that also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
so,
they can
like,
change
there's
pretty
no
quick.
issue with retesting sooner. But I think too, if you had to like space it out due to whatever reason, whether it's financial, you know, at least testing within that 6 months of making those changes, rather than just assuming everything's fine, even if you do see improvement, that would be really helpful. Because for one, like if you've changed things, it's really helpful to know, is that working? Because sometimes you can see things increase if you've changed something. So remember, every like herb, every supplement is doing something in the body. And just because it's natural doesn't mean it can't have adverse effects, right? If we don't need something, and that might be why like we give a supplement and we see a side effect like vomiting. Okay, well, why is that? What is it doing in the body? So that's really important to be thinking about too. One of the guides that the first 100 people will get is a 32-page guide, gut health guide with nutrition and supplements to help heal the gut. That also goes into more depth about the testing. That also goes into other pillars of health that you can use. So talking about some of the emotional health and the detox and some of the other areas. So that is like, that's all yours. Like,
yeah, and that'll last for a long time. I mean, that's your first test, your second test, you can always refer back to that.
Yeah,
definitely.
Your guide, Dr. Katie, I think is exactly what
Ticamia?
Ticamia.
We're gonna
slaughter
butcher
your
it.
name.
We slaughtered it. Sorry.
She just ordered the kits. Jamie said we got our first order. Yes.
Yes, and there's supplements in that guide too. And also too, IPL will give you recommendations also. That's also another reason I love them, because they're here to support you. I've worked with or seen a lot of tests that make people more confused.
Yes.
Right. Anyone else in the comments had that happen? Right. And that can hold a lot of people back from doing testing, because it's like, well, I spent all this money. I got this test result, and then I had no idea what to do with it. I see it every day. And of course, you're not going to want to do another test. And that's why it's really helpful to have like the support with IPL and the test results that they give you and the interpretations and what it means, versus just saying, here's your reference range, you're high, good luck. Like,
or
like
everybody gets the same treatment. Take this.
Yes, that's the other thing too, is that your cat is an individual. So this is where it's really important to also keep a journal. Very powerful, of what is my cat doing? What is the energy of the household? How am I feeling? What are we feeding? Did we add a new supplement? What was the stool look like? Was their energy change? Those types of things are really helpful too when you are adjusting and tweaking and changing things, because then you become the detective and then you feel more empowered and confident you're on the right path too. And a journal's free. So anyone can do that. When I hear people have journals, I love them instantly. Like I'm not lying.
You know how to get Katie's love.
Yes. You keep a journal of your cat and you take pictures of their poop. Yay. I love you.
Well,
It is my most favorite thing when I'm having coffee in the morning, going through DMs and people are sending me pictures of their cats. Oh,
Yes.
a little early.
Yes, but yeah, I was going to say, in addition to that, the journal is awesome to keep track of like the dates and all that, but add videos, add pictures to that journal, because you can compare.
Make sure there's a date.
I mean, on the cell phones these days, they're always
True. Yes, they're very helpful.
One more quick question. So Deanna's saying, I see that there are multiple options for tests. This is the cat comprehensive gut check.
Is that what it's called? What is it? Comprehensive cat?
Cat comprehensive.
Comprehensive
Yeah,
gut
so
check for cats. It's the last one. I'm literally on their website right now. If you
Yeah.
go to our tests at the innovativepetlab.com and you scroll down, comprehensive gut check for cats is the one that includes all of them. And like Dr. Redmond mentioned, after you do that test, you can always do the individual tests. You know, so if a marker was elevated or low and you want to just do some of those other like basic checks, that's where a great option is those.
yeah, and it'll list 4 markers. It'll list Calprotectin, Secretory IgA, Zonulin, and Anti-gliadin. So that's the cat comprehensive. It has all 4 markers.
That's so awesome. Ladies, thank you so much for this. Thank you so much for launching this. Thank you so much for
Excited.
Yes, I know we're excited too. You guys all have to keep us posted on the results, and everybody keep us posted on.
Let's all sit on that gratitude for a second. Thank you guys for your energy. I love how excited you guys are to empower pet parents. I love how excited you are to bring something like this to market and know how much hard work goes into it for you and your team. Dr. Katie, I know like it is your life's work to make guides and do this stuff and help all of us be better. I'm so grateful. And having you both here tonight on launch day for this really empowering tool is just an honor.
Beautiful.
So thank you both.
Yes.
So much.
And thank you, Jay and Adrian, for
Yeah.
hosting this and sharing all your knowledge, education around the world. And thank you to everyone who cares.
Yes.
And
Couldn't do what we do without you.
Yes.
I love all y'all's energy. I always like, you guys are so easy to do one of these lives with, because there's so much energy. And then my follow-up would be to reiterate to Rodney not to get involved in his cat's love life. It's the wrong move.
Yeah, I agree.
Stay away.
Well,
Yeah. No.
Okay, you guys. So don't forget to use the coupon code CATLOVE. Give your cat some love.
Yes.
Keep us posted. We're very excited to hear everything that you guys learn and all about your babies.
Yes.
And I thank you guys again. This is just so, I don't want it to end. Can you tell?
Well, we got to think, how do you partake in the other extras beside the discounts? Oh, you'll get that when you get the test.
Yeah, they are connected. So the first 100 purchases for the cat comprehensive test will come with all of the extra perks as well.
And Dr. Katie, for our friends in the North,
just send an email to me. I will take care of you. So it's fine. I've already created it. So you're more than welcome to have my cat guide. Don't worry. We will.
Katie's cat guide.
For gut health.
There's so much love happening. I love it so much. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. Happy Tuesday, everyone. We will be live tomorrow evening with none other than Dr. Barry Sands and for our Back in the Closet episode. And we won't be in our closet, but we'll make it look like a closet.
We'll find somewhere to land.
We love you all. Happy
Dr.
evening.
Lemon, thank you. Dr. Katie, thank you. We'll see you guys soon.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Good night, y'all.